since we did our podcast, you have totally turned my chi around, because riding from restaurant to restaurant has been a whole different ballgame, because I've been downloading them, listening to one after another. So I appreciate you guys turning it on to me. Appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you, Chef.
That was Chef Jason Smith of 18 Seaboard and the 18 Restaurant Group talking about how we turned his chi around. Listen to the NCF&B podcast and you will turn your chi around.
You're listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, coming to you from the Kitchen Studios, located high atop the historic Raleigh building, located in the heart of downtown Raleigh. The NCF&B Podcast takes you behind the scenes of North Carolina's food and beverage industry. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at NCFBpod. This episode is sponsored in part by Food Scene. That's foodseen.com. Providing professional photography, social media management, video production, and website design. That's Food Scene. And now, the sommeliers to the stars, the barbacks in your backyard. It is Max and Matt.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And that beautiful hum you hear in the background of people talking and chatting are talking about the wonderful food and experience going on right now in Chapel Hill, North Carolina at the TerraVita Fall Fete.
I didn't know what a fete was until we were told that that's what this is.
Really? Well, now you know.
I mean, I did spend a month in France, but I didn't
Nobody
really
ever said, hey, come to a fete?
No one really invites me to too many parties.
Well, we know why now.
It is pouring rain out right now.
Yeah, we're under a beautiful tent. I don't feel a drop of rain, and it smells amazing.
Yeah, there are chefs. I'm looking at Thomas Card right now. I'm looking at
Fowler. I see Scott Crawford. We'll chat with him later.
There's Durham Distillery and Rob Mariani over at Alley 26. Topo is here. I mean, really, it is a cast of amazing characters from North Carolina. We're going to be talking to everybody, as many people as we can, that is. So stick around and maybe have a word from our sponsor before we get on.
Yeah, let's go drink and eat and have our sponsors tell you about what they do.
Laura Harris, she is a restaurant industry preferred agent. She's a new sponsor of the show, highly motivated, and she ran restaurants for a long time, I think 17-year history. But now she is selling houses, and she's selling houses to the food community. She really understands this community, the community that tends to listen to our show. A lot of us are in the food business, and if you're trying to figure out a place to live, maybe your restaurant transferred you from a new city to this place or so, and maybe you're just buying your first home. Maybe you've been killing it on weekends behind the stick, bringing in $500 a night, and you're like, it's time to buy a house. Well, call Laura Harris at 919-896-2697. And she will not only work with you because she understands your schedule, but she'll make it very easy. Rather than going to 50 to 60 different properties, no one's got time for that. She interviews her customers so well that she can eliminate so many things and just make it more efficient. Because she's a partner with the show, there is a specific website you can go to. It's ncfbhomes.com. And from there, you'll be able to find all the information you need. Again, it's Laura Harris, your restaurant industry preferred agent. You can call her at 919-896-2697 or reach her at ncfbhomes.com. Powered by Fathom Realty.
All right, so we continue our TerraVita talk, and we are here with none other than Mr. Scott Crawford, chef of Crawford & Son, the upcoming Jolie, and soon to be, just announced today, you put the name on it.
Crawford Brothers.
Crawford Brothers. It's a family affair.
And that's going to be a steakhouse, from what I understand. Is that right? But that's so far in advance. I want to talk about what's about to happen right now, because we actually have the namesake of Jolie right here, Chef Jolie. And she's here. Do you want to say hi?
Jolie, come say hi.
Say hi.
Hi.
Tell everybody what you're doing with your dad here today at TerraVita.
I'm cooking duck cassoulet.
Duck cassoulet, yeah. Awesome. And it is fantastic.
Thank you.
What about you, buddy?
Well,
Tell everybody your name.
my name is Giles. I am cooking duck cassoulet with my dad and my sister.
And son of Crawford and Son.
Yes.
How do you like having your own restaurant?
I really like it. I think it's.
Do you code invoices and like check in the orders when they come in?
No.
No.
That's good. You got people for that.
You know what he does do on Saturday mornings? He washes dishes so he can learn how to run the machine and earn money to buy sneakers.
That's right. We heard he's gunning for the Huaraches. So Nike people, if you're out there listening, send him a pair of Huaraches because he's looking for them.
Well, you know, Max, you can probably relate. For years in this industry, it was we gave everything, and it really there wasn't a lot of time for family. And at a certain point, you have to make that change. Take back your time, own your own time, and involve your family, so that you can be happy again in an industry that can actually take everything if you let it. And instead, we're living a completely different life now. And this morning, we've had a blast all day since we've sprung out of bed at 7 a.m. because we get to do something cool together.
I've seen you, Chef Scott Crawford, run tables at not just TerraVita, but many places before with your team. And your team has always been great, talented people that have gone on to do great things. This is the greatest table I've ever seen you run because it's with your son and your daughter, and you guys are knocking it out, and you're making delicious food. It warms my heart as a dad, and a dad that's worked in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
What you're doing right now is what it's all about.
Yep. I appreciate that. I think so, too. It's very gratifying.
Yeah.
We had a moment this morning. It's very cool.
So, of course, the first restaurant is named with your son. The second restaurant is named with your daughter. And now the next restaurant is named with your brother.
That's right.
So what happened to Jessica?
Yeah, she's asking the same question.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's because we're going to have to do a fourth.
Yeah.
So just watch for the fourth.
Jessica, I see like a cocktail bar come in. Like some cool,
She thinks we should call it Scott's wife Jessica. So watch for Scott's wife Jessica in 2025.
Yeah.
Not a bad name for a bar or a
Like a
restaurant.
coffee shop could be cool.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Her middle name is Sunshine, right?
Yeah.
So wake up with Sunshine.
Yeah.
Coffee shop, Sunshine Coffee Shop.
There it is.
Right?
Boom.
Boom, boom. I get credit for that, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have it on tape.
You have it. Yeah, that's right. You do get credit.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Real quick, TerraVita, you've been a supporter of this for a long time. Just tell us why you got involved and how come you continue to support it.
So this is our local event, right? I mean, there's one in every city now, but this one feels like home, you know? I mean, it's like a huge reunion every year for not only the guests. I see a lot of the same guests every year, but it's all my friends. We can do these in other cities and meet new people, and it's great, but this feels like home.
Yeah, support your backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Chef, and so cool. It's an example for the rest of the chefs out there with families. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're sitting here with Sean Lily Wilson of Holstein Brewery.
As long as you don't say full stream, I'm good.
It's pretty crazy. We've never had you on the show before. Here you are, one of the big wigs, as we say in Yiddish, a macher, in the beverage scene of the Triangle.
Clearly you've been drinking.
Full steam.
It's your fault, man.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. You're a James Beard nominee for Beverage Professional nationally.
It's great to be here. I'm between two ferns, between two M's.
You really are. Well, the cool thing is not only do you make delicious beer, but I think that you're also a pillar of Durham. You set yourself to be someone that actually cares about your environment and cares about the community, and you are always giving back and done such a great job. On top of also making like a really delicious basil beer and just delicious beers in general. Truth be told, can I say this one embarrassing fact about me? And I think we cut it out of a podcast at some point.
A lot of embarrassing facts about you. We don't really hide them.
So, Sean, we were at Full Steam when Brittany Anderson from Virginia, Chef Brittany Anderson, came down to hang out with the Curate guys and Steve Mangano and all. I've said before that I always thought like IPAs are like they're so generic in general. Right? Like they're very, very popular, and they're not like as sophisticated, let's say, as like a farmhouse ale. And so Felicia says to me, in your presence, honey, get another IPA, knowing that I love IPAs. But because you were standing next to me, I go, no. I'm going to get a farmhouse ale, or I'll get a Saison. I'll get like a what?
I'm
what would
glad
you
I
say?
give off those vibes
And
of
she
like,
goes-
let me be judgy on beer. Can I just take a moment and just say, drink what you want? Like, I love IPAs. I drink all different types of beer, and it's exhausting, the whole analysis that goes through trying to figure out like why do people care so much what other people drink beer wise?
I'm exhausted.
No,
just in general.
It's in general.
You know something? And I just discovered this recently. I was a guy for a long time that you have a judgment of people if they wear a certain brand or they drive a certain car or they watch a certain show. You say, oh, that guy falls in this category.
Yeah.
And that has been in my world lately so revolutionized. Like, that doesn't fit at all. Just because you do one thing or like this doesn't.
You don't think the guys that drink vodka soda, like Tito's vodka sodas, also like wearing Oakleys?
They might, but that doesn't mean they're bad people or that they don't have something interesting to say.
Oh, no. I just think you can make that assertion.
Yeah, there are demographics, but I do like how beer defies expectations a lot of times. So that said, we do have in our weekly newsletter, business to business newsletter, when we're writing to our retail customers, we have a story about Rick, the IPA drinker, and there's a whole thing about Rick.
Is he wearing Von Dutch hats and?
Pretty much, he's got Oakleys.
He does have Oakleys.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
This last edition, he finally put away the Tevas for the summer. So there is.
He's gonna wear socks again with those Tevas in February.
Let's not go that far. I don't want to turn people off to beer, but yeah, we have a little. We like, and it resonates. It's funny. It's not just for us, but people like hearing about the adventures of Rick, the IPA drinker.
I love
Is
that.
there actually somebody that Rick is based on? Or no?
It's just in my head. The whole same.
Love it.
The whole same thing. Yeah.
Hey, give us a little.
So you're trying to avoid being Rick.
Oh, I am Rick. I mean, I already know that's exact. I'm from Los Angeles, so
and
I
you're
get
not
it.
really even from Los Angeles, so that's the whole.
Which is why I'm from Los Angeles.
Sean, on a serious note, give us the little 411 elevator pitch of Full Steam, what you guys do, how you guys got created, and a little bit of insight in why you've been so successful.
Well, thanks for saying that. We're 8 years in, and Max mentioned the basil beer. That was the very first beer that we brewed on our system. It was intended just to be a test batch. We were just going to see how the system worked, and it ended up being a big hit. And so we've kept that beer seasonally for now eight years in a row. And that beer with North Carolina basil and North Carolina wheat is pretty much kind of defines what we do, which is to make distinctly local beer using seasonal southern ingredients. And I don't know if we do that great of a job explaining that as part of our ethos, but do you guys want to take a guess on, in those 8 years, about how much money we've purchased from North Carolina farmers?
In 8 years, I'm going to say somewhere in the $900,000.
We're about half that. I would love to get there. I'm like, we're at like about $450,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's a significant amount that you're giving back to the state.
But there's room to grow. That you think that is encouraging for me, because it means that there's more that people would say, that's a cool, lofty, and attainable number, right? And
there's a perception about, there's a definite perception of success that you guys have.
Well, I appreciate that. But for me, it's really about not our success, but about the success of North Carolina's farmers and businesses like Epiphany Craft Malt and Riverbend Malt House, that the more we're buying local, we're creating opportunities for farmers and agricultural entrepreneurs and foragers in what we call a post-tobacco North Carolina. So that's, getting back to your question, that's really what we're driven towards and what makes us different. When we brewed that Southern Basil 8 years ago, brewing with local basil, even local wheat, was bizarro. We caught a lot of heat for it, right? And now pretty much every brewery is brewing with some local ingredients, seasonally, or hopefully using Epiphany Craft Malt or Riverbend Malt or Carolina Malt House. And our goal was to pioneer a Southern beer economy, right? That was the mission, right? And so the challenge now is, I feel like we've done a lot of that, but what do we do beyond that? What's the next goal? Where do we take it? Because at the time, the basil thing was so weird and so out there, but now it's known.
It's like you had like a big hit, and it got everybody's attention. But then now they're like, okay, well, we
followed it up with a second album.
You followed it up with a really great album. Yeah, you're like,
I don't know if it was
Pearl
a big
Jam
hit.
verses, but
I wonder about that. I feel like it was like Rush.
Ooh.
Like some people are really into Rush, and then a lot of people hate Rush.
Yeah.
I think they really hate them, or they just think they're nerdy. I don't think like people think about Rush and like, oh, I can't stand them. I just think like, oh, those guys are like.
To our listeners right now, nod your heads while driving down the 46. You think the music is good, but you hate his voice. That's really how people feel about Rush. Like, the music's pretty awesome. You can't deny that, like, they make some cool music. But Geddy Lee talking about, I'm a working man. Witchcraft is a man.
Ooh.
Cool. Vitor and my snow dog to my right.
I know we're going to make that. I thought we were going to make that beer.
We talked about that at Birdsong.
Yeah, no.
We want to make the NCF and Brew, but we want to subtitle it Vitor and the Snow Dog Ale.
Wow.
Could be a good, like, wintry ale.
What about a collaboration?
Yeah, and even that, do you run into a major issue trying to name your beers because there are so many names that come out all the time?
For sure.
It's not easy to get your name
Just
cleared,
yesterday,
right?
we talked about Igor, our Imperial Stout, and somebody on Instagram was like, and I'll say it because it's a thing, does Two Roads Brewery mind that you're using their name? And I wrote on Instagram, I was like, why would they? We came up with the name first. And, and we did. And we trademarked the name. And
sure.
So you should be mad at them.
But you're not mad.
But they're a bigger brewery, and we actually worked it out. It worked out fine. They have a beer called Igor's Dream. We have a beer called Igor. We coexist, but it's always there's a brewery with a beer called Paycheck. There's a brewery with a beer called Humidity. Both of these are trademark names. And then anytime you're trying to defend your trademark, you look like the asshole.
Right.
Asshole, right?
Yeah, you can say asshole.
I can say asshole.
Yeah. You look like Lars Ulrich when Napster came out. And you're like, thanks a lot for ruining everything, dicks.
Right.
Although I will say that once I heard that Metallica was using Salesforce.
That's the end.
But it was really weird to me how, like, read more about how Metallica optimizes Salesforce.com. I'm like, what? When you think you come up with an original name, you have to jump on it and defend it and then work it out when you can.
Because you're talking about what you guys do next, what you take it to the next level. You've put a lot of attention and effort and enthusiasm into the food that you're creating over there.
Oh yeah, thanks. And now we have Ivan Rodriguez is our newest chef, and he's bringing a good bar food mentality, but also his Mexican American heritage. And so having good Southern inspired beers with a Mexican and Southern inspired food, it's working out.
Yeah. Ivan Rodriguez and Max Trujillo, recent Facebook friends.
Yeah, he's Facebook friends with everybody.
Within this week, yeah. So
was he from the Cortez before?
No, he's been.
Way to generalize all the Hispanics, Matt.
Alley 26. I didn't laugh at that. Edit out that laugh. Alley 26, Motorco, Dashi for a hot minute.
Okay, so he's been around Durham and seen it.
Up through the ranks and is doing really well. So if you, I'll say this, that we have I have this theory that a lot of people think of breweries as a snapshot.
Yeah.
So there's so many breweries out there that your experience of, say, Full Steam, if you last went there in 2012, that's what you think of Full Steam today, right?
Yeah.
Or XYZ Brewery. But the fact of the matter is it's everything evolves and changes, and we're really growing. We have 20-ish beers on tap now and a new food menu. So that's after 8 years how we work to stay on top of things. But if you haven't been in a bit, I definitely encourage you all, the listeners, etc., to come hang out.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and you got to come in. We got a lot to talk about, so I know we don't have a lot of time now. You got to get back to your booth here at TerraVita, but come into the studio.
Stop pulling me away from the microphone.
Yeah,
I want to talk more.
You're done.
You're hurting me.
Yeah.
And we're out.
Thanks, Sean.
Sitting to my right is the pastry chef of the Asbury down in Charlotte, inside the Dunhill Hotel. We have Miss Miranda Brown with us. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It is a pleasure to have you on the show. We just had your food.
let's at least, for that much, tell me what you made.
So tonight for the event, or today for the event, I made it's a winter squash custard, and it's going with a Cushaw squash puree as well as a baby ginger apple cider gel, pumpkin seed granola, and some lemon and basil microgreens.
It's delicious. So, I mean, you make desserts typically, but this was like kind of savory or kind of not super sweet.
So that's kind of my style. Is what I do is I take like local ingredients that are kind of people think sweet, and I like to think bringing freshness and a different taste to things. So like the best thing to do for me is to take the squash or whatever the ingredient is and to take it in its purest form and just see what I can do to make it better and make it stand out. And honestly, for me, I don't like super sweet desserts, so I wanted to have some balance,
I think everyone could use a little less sugar in their diet.
Yeah, for sure.
Two thumbs pointing to this guy. And then, of course, Matthew Krentz, who's been on the show a couple times, great friend of ours, recently a daddy.
Yes.
Congrats to him. Is your coworker, if you will. You guys work on the line together.
Oh, yeah. Matt's great. He's such a force to work with, and he's just so creative and hilarious. And, he's just so funny. We go back and forth all day long and, like, just joking around and playing ideas off of each other and everything. So it's a blast working with Matt.
Howdy, everybody.
There's Matt and his lovely bride. Wait a minute. Oh my God, Sarah is eating dessert. She's eating cake right now.
Oh, that's Thomas Card's dessert.
Just the frosting? That seems like the one thing you wouldn't have eaten.
I don't want the bread.
You don't care, just the frosting. So, contrary to actually, I'll catch you up, Matt. Contrary to what we were just saying, Miranda Brown over here, pastry chef over at the Dunhill Asbury, makes food that doesn't necessarily use too much sugar, and in fact, Oh, sure. Thought Sarah was trying to steal my food. I was like, please don't do that.
That wouldn't have been a first.
But we were talking about how she makes a lot of dishes that are even like lower in sugar content, or maybe like some savory ingredients as well.
So for me, the focus is not how much sugar's in it, but if you notice, when you have a dessert, sometimes it's one note, and all that note is just sweetness. You want to be able to taste like. In savory dishes, you can taste so much more. Like you taste lemon and acidity and salt and sugar and spiciness, and you should be able to have the same things in a dessert. Like a dessert shouldn't be an afterthought to your meal. It should continue on that great experience and keep building the flavors. So that's...
the thing about that is I always like to have wine pairings and stuff, and then I feel like sometimes it ends at dessert, or you have to have like a sweet sugary wine.
Yeah, you have to.
And then like you don't really want to drink anymore because it's like, well, but I want to continue the process and try different wines. And so I think also desserts that have savory components in it as well is also make for great pairings.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I like that you brought up wine, because I was going to say, when you have wines that have a lot of residual sugar in them, many times the beauty, the elegance, and the subtlety of flavor sometimes gets masked by the sugar, because it's just so viscous and it forward on the palate. So I have to imagine that's the same kind of idea. If you pull back the sugar on some of your recipes, that you get more nuance in flavor, and you're able to get a more expressive dessert, and you start getting like the caraway seed, or the like, for instance, what you said it earlier, but just say back, what were the components that you also added to your dessert?
Okay, so I started with winter squash custard. So it's a mixture of several different squash that I got actually from Jamie Swafford, who's here tonight with Old North Shrub. Yep.
Great.
And so it's a mix of those, and then I started on with spices, like you think about pumpkin pie or something like that. Mm-hmm. Then I also wanted the fresh flavor from the squash, so I kept that simple with lemon and sugar and salt. That's the puree. And then I have the baby ginger gel, and I added some apple cider to kind of tie in with the apple chip, and everything is meant to play off each other.
It's so cool.
Can you also touch on, for Rebecca, because some sugars are healthier for you than others, right? I mean, obviously, like when you're using high fructose corn syrup and stuff like that, that's the worst end of the spectrum. But like, what kind of sugars are somewhat actually healthy and you're getting benefits from them nutritionally?
So, as for nutritional value, I think anything in excess is really bad, obviously,
Except wine. You can drink as much wine as you want.
Fine. They say it's
Cupcakes
good for
are fine
you, so
too.
it's great. What I'm using is like maybe a little bit of granulated, maybe brown, maybe coconut palm. I love to use turbinado.
But that's also in the raw, essentially, so it's not processed at all, so that's why you're getting the most nutritional benefits you can from sugar.
Yeah, to be honest, the reason I use it is because it gives a great crunch.
Yeah. There you go.
Like, that's why I like it. Yeah, so that and, a lot of, if you go to like the processed like factories or whatever, if you buy a like prepackaged dessert, it's going to have a lot of corn syrup, and it's just going to leave like a bad coating in your mouth, you know, like a heavy feeling.
I love that.
Yeah, and Miranda, kudos to you. You made a dish amidst these 30 different chefs. Is that how many we have today? 30, 40, whatever.
Sure.
A lot. How about that? You knew your place today in this environment, and you didn't just bombard somebody with like an unctuous, sugary, sweet dessert and kind of ruin everything else that they would taste for the rest of the afternoon. You did a perfect, balanced representation of what you do in this environment.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the show. We've talked about getting in deeper with you about what you do and all. We'd love to have you back on the show, so we'll coordinate that.
Yeah, I would love to come back. It's a great experience here and, meeting you guys. And
you better get back there. You left that guy all alone on the
I know. I got to go. Kyle's got my back today, so
I'm
going to go help him out.
Go to the Downhill in Charlotte, eat and drink merrily.
Next up, we're speaking with Peyton Smith from Mission Pizza coming out of Winston-Salem.
Well, we're in front of their pizza oven, and we're talking with Peyton, who's throwing down a pizza right now. One of the hits of the whole TerraVita show with your pizza. What are you making?
It's basically a riff on a pizza margarita, so just bright, fresh tomato sauce, lots of basil. I've been buying cheese from this guy in Charlotte called Alfonso Ciano Mozzarella for about a year. It's unbelievable cheese. He buys the milk from Hickory Hill, South Carolina. He makes it on Thursday. I get it on Friday. It's amazing. And then when it comes out of the oven, I'm going to hit it with some andouille. So it's like a prosciutto and speck spread. I actually buy it from La Quecha because I think it's delicious, and they make it better than I could if I tried. And then I doctor it up with a bunch of Calabrian chilies and the brine and the oil from the chilies. And it's like a sauce.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then I crush it at the end.
Okay, it's no joke that you just brought an entire wood-burning, tile-covered oven. Like, what the hell's going on here?
I started like this. So in 2010, I started with a mobile operation, very similar to this, a really modest trailer with nothing but an oven on the top. We crank it. We're probably running it 900 degrees right now. And the idea behind Neapolitan pizza is you want it to be fresh and light. So it's a long leavening process, really wet, high hydrated dough. So it should be really soft, really light, just barely crispy, but not crunchy on the outside. And then hopefully if we get it right, everything is balanced. So you have like the sweetness from the dairy, a little bit of acid from the tomato, freshness from the basil.
So you're already going back to the oven right now. It's only been in there for a few seconds, and it's already popped up. That pizza was made in literally 60 seconds. So we're talking 700-800 degrees? What's going on in there?
Probably close to 900. It's just a number, but probably close to 900. Yeah.
So, Peyton, you guys are coming out of Winston-Salem, right?
Yeah.
You guys have a brick and mortar there?
Yeah, it's called Mission Pizza Napolitano. We've been there, it'll be 5 years in January.
So, but you're just taking the world kind of by storm now because you were invited to New York to this major pizza competition, right?
It's a festival. There's no competition in New York. There's competition. There's Caputo Cup in Las Vegas. Caputo Cup, there's Caputo Cups everywhere, but in the U.S., in the Pizza and Pasta Show in Atlantic City and Las Vegas. So competitions sort of go hand in hand. At New York Pizza Festival, there's no competition. It's really a mini, not that mini, probably almost as big, not culturally speaking, but an American version of Napoli Pizza Village.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you made pizza for the mayor?
Yeah. He made pizza for me, maybe. Something like that.
And the mayor had some?
Vice versa, yeah.
He didn't slice it with a fork and knife, did he?
So he was walking up the way, saw our banner, and said to my buddy Fred, like, who the hell makes pizza in North Carolina like this? And Fred goes, well, this guy does. So I had a pizza in my hand, and I walked up to him when we met each other and blah, blah, blah. And he says, what do you got? I said, listen, Mr. Mayor, we're going to put this knife and fork thing to bed right now. We folded it in half again into a triangle, and he just smashed it.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Very cool.
Thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being at TerraVita as well. It's good to see you here.
A lot of fun.
Awesome.
Take care.
But first of all, who is Brandon? We're with Urban Street Eats, the owner of Urban Street Eats, Brandon Shepard, who, for those of our listeners who don't know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what Urban Street Eats are all about.
Urban Street Eats actually started off as a food truck, and the main concept behind it was global street food. And the biggest thing in our area is everyone's all about, fried shrimp baskets and stuff like that, which is great. But we wanted to bring us something a little more to the area, and that was kind of the whole concept of bringing food that people weren't actually used to trying, and quality food that wasn't just the same thing over and over again. And it was hard going at first, obviously, because people see it and they're a little afraid of it because it's so different. But like I said, we've actually had a very, very welcoming, response after a while, and it's kind of brought us here so far.
What are you making here today at TerraVita?
Today we made a pork carnitas taco. We actually braised it in its own lard, then we smoked it with a little bit of peachwood and sage. We're using Hacienda heirloom corn tortillas, a little bit of cilantro cream, apple slaw, pickled red onions, avocado verde.
What was the apple that came? Because there was a slightly sweet component in it. So was the apple?
The apple and the slaw for the apple slaw.
Delicious.
It's fantastic, man. And so, how'd you get attached to TerraVita, knowing that with TerraVita, the mission statement is to be sustainable? So these are business practices that you employ?
Definitely. The biggest thing in this area, a lot of chefs grow up, they want to do the most outlandish stuff possible. But after a while, I realized that actually using the food that's around you, people might think it's boring, but that's the kind of responsibility of a chef, to make it interesting out of, local ingredients, everything you can find around you. And I actually got into TerraVita from Chris Coleman, because I've been trying to get here for the longest time.
He's all right.
Yeah, great guy, man, and he vouched for me, and next thing I know, talked to Colleen Minton, and here we are.
Fantastic.
I have to say, shout out to Chris Coleman. I ate at Stoke recently. And he threw it down, man. I have to post those pictures, actually.
Yeah. You're a fantastic social media person. What?
Yeah, I'm huge. You said started out as a food truck. Sorry, maybe I missed this. Are you planning on opening a brick and mortar?
We actually opened a brick and mortar, but we kind of fell victim to the whole hurricane situation.
Right.
And that kind of tore down everything. So we're back to the food truck, but we're actually looking into some interesting possibilities now. Don't want to give everything away too fast, but
well, metaphorically speaking, the sun just came out on you right when you said that. It's been raining all day at TerraVita, and right when you said that, rain went away and the sun came out.
It's nice.
I will take that as a sign.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being on the show today. It's been a long time coming. Yeah, we appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Chef Keith Rhoads.
One badass chef.
Oh, boy.
The OG on this podcast. Coming to you from TerraVita in Chapel Hill, so far away from the water-soaked coastline of Wilmington. You were instrumental, to say the least, to help first responders, to help people post-Hurricane Florence. Could you speak a little bit about that and how you got contacted with Jose Andres for your work efforts?
Well, being from the area and just everything we do already with the community, it was kind of like a no-brainer to go ahead and jump in and be involved. I got an email one night from the organization that they were there and they needed some help. We just kind of linked up together and just pressed the gas on the efforts immediately. And it was really cool in the beginning. It was just a few of us that were there cooking, and they really needed chef-driven folks that were there that could kind of like command the kitchen. We were limited on volunteers and everything.
Meaning you didn't need a chef to say a little bit more salt in this and a little bit more of that. You needed leaders. You needed someone to run the show.
That's right. And, logistic-wise, there were a lot of limitations as far as folks being able to volunteer. Trees were still down. People were still without power, whatever. But we were a little bit fortunate. So we just capitalized on that and came full force into the efforts.
So you were using the Catch restaurant as the hub?
As one of the hubs, yes, to produce kitchen. And we were doing, let's say, 5,000-6,000 a day. Yeah, working with the World Central Kitchen. But I mean, it was a good effort. It really showed you the strength of the community that came out. In the beginning, we were a little limited on volunteers. A couple of weeks into it, we had tons of folks that were there. And Wilmington is still in recovery right now. Business is slowly getting back to normal, but I don't think everything will be the way that it should be. Maybe another 6 months or so out.
Any advice just for anyone that wants to help out? I know giving money is one thing. Obviously supporting, too, just going to Wilmington and spending some money and just enjoying what Wilmington is. But just any general advice for how anyone can contribute to the efforts for Wilmington?
Well, I think that in the upcoming months and weeks, there are going to be satellite efforts in every city. There'll be efforts in Charleston. There'll be efforts in Raleigh. There'll be efforts in Durham. Just kind of connect with that. Those folks are plugged into the hospitality industry, whether it be food and wine or beer or whatever it is, and these folks will be able to put the money and the efforts where they need to be. And, we appreciate everything you guys do, not only just covering the restaurants and the beer and the wine, but the community in general. And, thanks again. And, folks, get out there. We are one. We are one.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Right on.
Hey, real quick, just tell us what you're doing here and some delicious crab that you have. Tell the folks who couldn't be here what they're missing out on.
Oh, wow. So up from the coast, how we do, fresh seafood, whatever. We've got steamed blue crab claws here, and we paired them with a Jamaican jerk cocktail sauce. And real simple. The presentation is simple, but the taste is right there. It's juicy crabs, a little burn from the heat from the cocktail sauce in the back. But, it is what it is. It represents ideally exactly what we do on the coast. And we're just privileged to bring it up here in this area. Yeah. We've worked with Colleen, with TerraVita for many years now. And it just gets better and better and better every year.
It's great to catch up with you, man.
Absolutely, guys.
All right, we'll see you out in Wilmington soon, hopefully.
Bon appetit and cheers.
Okay, that was awesome. We've been here for the last 4 hours. We've spoken to so many different people, but we also took a portable recorder and walked around this amazing tent filled with so much talent, so much flavor, a lot of booze, too, in North Carolina.
Good booze.
Yeah.
Scott Crawford said it really well. This is like your backyard, so for the people that do live in the Triangle or anywhere in North Carolina, this is really your people, and the best talent comes out. It's just a beautiful atmosphere here in the Southern Green in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I'm looking at restaurants that are represented. You've got restaurants from Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Cary, but then you go outside of that, and you've got places like in Boone, we had some great food, Winston-Salem, the aforementioned, Wilmington with Brandon Shepard and Keith Rhoads.
That's right.
You have amazing food from all over the state. People are doing a really great product, and this is why we do this show. It's about understanding what North Carolina brings, and that's what TerraVita does on a 4-day weekend, is pull all this amazing talent together and understand the beauty that is the food and beverage industry of the state.
Absolutely. Yeah. Get your tickets to TerraVita 2019. You'll eat and drink extremely merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.